Hello and welcome to this demonstration of the hybrid management system, now available in the BitTitan MigrationWiz tool. To start things off, I'm just going to look at the domain controller we have for this existing company, and you can see that we are laid out with organization units with the various users involved that we want to migrate. Now, we've already run the AADC, the Azure Active Directory Connect tool, so we have a live Office 365 tenant. We have also run the hybrid configuration wizard, so that is all configured and working, and we have a test user which we've brought over as well. So let me just show you that by going to here and seeing that we have users brought over, as you can see here. And in the mailbox section, we have our test user, which has been brought over as well. So basically, we have a fully working hybrid scenario set up to use. Now, to start this process, we need to log into MigrationWiz and create a new hybrid project, which we do by in the normal project section. As you can see, we have an extra tab now, which is hybrid projects, which we can do, and we will create the new project. You can see in the corner now we have hybrid exchange project available to us to use. So we're going to give this one a name, which we'll just call by the company, and we will create a new customer for this project, which we will do and hit save there. Now for the next step, we need to specify the source endpoint. Now this is purely going to be a name. We do not need to specify anything about the on-premises server. We just need to give it a name and save that. And for the destination settings, this endpoint is going to be the Office 365 tenant that we'll connect to. So we'll give it a name and provide the other details here, which will be the admin username and password, and also the target delivery name, which is going to be the onmicrosoft.com name for that particular tenant. And then choose add. You can see with this now set up, we can save that and go back to the summary page. Now inside the advanced options for the project, you can see that we have the ability to control how delegates are handled at a default level. Now, one of the very interesting features we have on the hybrid management tool inside MigrationWiz is the ability to completely handle the delegate validation. And you can see that we can look at that as one level up and down, the full tree and hierarchy, or none as a default setting. Now, this can be obviously changed at a particular batch level, but these are the default settings which we would be looking at here. So here I'm going to make it one level up and down and then save that accordingly. Looking at the hybrid project now, you can see we have it set up and we have no batches there. That's because we haven't brought any in from the Exchange server, whether we'd have done this by the Exchange agent or by the CSV import, which is the two options that are available to us. So what we can do here is we can hit Start Discovery, and you can see that we have the option to now download the hybrid agent and put that on the Exchange server, or we can do it with a CSV file and bring the batches in manually. So I'm going to download now the hybrid agent file and make that available on the desktop so we can run that. With the agent loaded onto the desktop, we can simply just double click that to start the installation process. So we just hit next here, the location, and a next, and the install, which will ask for admin rights. So you will need to click down in this portion and allow that to install on that machine. But as you can see, it happens very quickly. It is quite a small agent size, so we just hit finish here and we are then ready to kick that off. By double clicking here, we are then presented with the hybrid agent login details. Now these are the details we would use to log into the BitTitan site and to access the hybrid project on the website. So it will be the login ID that's associated with your project. So we can go ahead here and I will key in those details. after which it will ask us what we want to be doing here, which is firstly the start discovery and sending the CSV to MigrationWiz. That is our main option. We do have the option, as you can see, for send to MigrationWiz only. This is if you've previously run the agent and you want to resubmit data, but generally we'll be using the start discovery and the send CSV to MigrationWiz. Secondly, we can specify an organization unit. This is because we are batching by organization unit, so we can drill down a little bit and filter those accordingly. They can be separated by commas, and as you can see, they do need to be an exact replica of what the organization unit is. But down the bottom here, you can see that it's now presenting us with different work groups and hybrid projects. Now, these directly from the BitTitan website. So you can see we only have one work group for this particular login, and we do have multiple hybrid projects set up under the work group. So I'm going to choose the one which is appropriate to here and just hit the start button. Now this will go ahead and pick up all of the mailboxes from the Exchange organization. So I'm just going to pause this and come back when it's closer to the 100% mark. And it looks like we're just about done here, approaching the 100%. It's about 2,000 mailboxes on this particular Exchange org. There you can see it's found 2,018 mailboxes, and as you can notice from the status there, the discovery is completed and the mailbox data has been sent to MigrationWiz. So we can now just hit the done button here, and that will then exit. And you can see that it's asking us what we want to do with the delegates that we are bringing in with this batch. Now, we talked about that in the advanced projects earlier, but this is particular to this import, and we can say that we want to handle one level up and one level down and import those mailboxes accordingly. And if we were performing a secondary sync, then we would probably tick the box saying update existing mailboxes that have not been synced already. And if we hit the learn more here, we would take us to the knowledge base article. Now I want to show you this here because there's no batches currently. We have these learn more items about the start discovery and the import CSV option, which will take us to the help center, and as you can see here about the import CSV and what is in there. This will give details on how the batching occurs. Now, as you can see, we're batching things from the organization unit, but we do have the option to override that with the CSV and provide a batch name in there. And you can see this provides us all the details about exactly how that is to be performed. But in this particular case, we are going to use the standard import mailbox items here, and that will lock the batches and provide that import for us, and that will take a few minutes to perform that particular process. So now with the import complete, you can see we have 25 batches, and they are named by the organization unit as we expected. Now you'll notice there is an icon next to them which looks like a person or persons, and that means that inside that particular batch there are delegates of or delegates to mailboxes. And you can see some of them, as you notice here, don't have that icon. Now I'm interested in the IT batch, which we're going to start very shortly. And you can see that inside here it's Colin and Connor that have the delegates. Now what I want to do here is I'm going to move somebody into this particular batch as well that has delegates to show you how that works. And I'm going to move one of the developers here, and you can see I'm going to move Sam Dyer, and I'm going to move to a batch, and I'm going to move him into the IT batch like so. Now as it's doing that, we told it previously to have a look at the delegates in terms of a tree factor of the up and down. Now as you can see here, it's now telling me that because we've done that, and that is our default project designation, that if we were to move Sam, it's asking us, do we want to bring the delegate with him? So we will do that and say yes, and you'll see the delegate will move as well. Now if I run across now to the IT batch, you'll notice there's now 17 people. There were 15 previously, but we had Sam, and we also have the delegate accordingly. And as you can see here, it's also brought in Leonard Berry, and that's obviously the delegate of Sam there. So what we're going to do is actually start this batch off now, and we'll start the sync. Now, what it's also telling us is that Colin and Connor have delegates, but those delegates aren't in that IT batch. So we have the option to say we can start the batch without moving the delegates, or we can move the delegates of those two into the batch and bring those in as well. And you can see that's going to increase the batch accordingly. This is our delegate function to mean that the delegates will definitely be staying with those particular users in the batch. They'll be migrated at the same time, and it keeps everything in order, obviously. Now, I do need to specify a source endpoint, which is the standard MRS mailbox replication service endpoint for the hybrid setup, which it's found, and I'm going to be licensing at the same time. And you can see I'm just going to apply the normal E3 license for this particular block. I'm going to tell it the location I want the mailboxes in, and I'm going to set the error count for the project as just as 100 items, and then I'm going to hit the Start Sync button. And that will trigger the creation of the batch, and it will start that batch inside the Office 365 system. And as you can see there, the batch sync has started. So we'll go back to our main project view, and you'll see that it is now syncing with 19 people, because clearly we had that extra users set brought in from the delegate option. While we're waiting for that batch to sync, I wanted to talk very briefly about the import CSV function up here. As you can see here that we do have the option to download the sample CSV and also the PowerShell script. Now, as I mentioned previously, this is if you don't want to run the agent, you can create the CSV file yourself and import that in. It does give us the option to manipulate these batches in a much larger fashion as well. By putting in batch names from the CSV, you can do a larger change to them. As long as the batches haven't started to sync already or been finalized, then you're free to change them around to whatever you need to do. It is important that you do hit the update existing batches that have not been synced, and if you hit the learn more, it'll take you to the help center, which will tell you about how the batching process actually works when you do the update existing mailboxes. What we've put together is a scenario-based event grid here, as you can see, which talks about what happens when a mailbox is discovered in a particular OU, and what you do with the CSV file, or when you change those around, what the resultant batching actually is. So it would be good to familiarize yourself with that so you can understand how the batching can be changed and how it occurs in the first place. So we'll just close that out and we'll cancel that, and I'll come back to this once this has reached a sync process of 100%. Now with the screen briefly do at a set time, we really want to cut over these users. I do want to just go into the batch itself here and just show that the user list here has some details on the side. Now these here are the details around the OA, the IMAP, the POP and retention policy, and also the active sync enabled that it picked up when it did the discovery process. And you can do this through the CSV file as well. So these settings will carry through to the finalization as well as. So just wanted to bring attention to that before we go ahead and finalize this batch. To start the finalization process, we'll click on this button here. Now we can see the 19 mailboxes are selected to be cut over. If we were to change the toggle here, we can change the behavior of how IMAP, POP, OA and ActiveSync behave on those mailboxes once they are cut over to Office 365. We can also set a retention policy if we want to as well. If we leave them alone, they will just have the same settings that came across from the discovery portion through the agent or through the CSV. If we click on here, then a notification is sent to the users that they are about to be cut over. And I do need to agree that this is a move mailbox to the cloud scenario. Like it says, a point of no return and can't be undone. And then we click on the Start Migration button to trigger this process. As it refreshes, you can see that it says it's finalizing, and now we wait until that is completed. Now, after that finalization is completed, you'll see the status does change in the MigrationWiz console, and a quick check on the Office 365 side, we can see that the licenses have been successfully applied, and a look at the mailboxes, we can see that the mailboxes have moved successfully across to Office 365 as well, and they are ready to go and log in. Thank you for watching. This concludes a demonstration of the hybrid management system for MigrationWiz, and have a good day. Thank you.